This is the Evelo Aries. It's a full suspension electric, maybe like gentle trail bike that you can get at a pretty good price. And it's also mid-drive. So there are a lot of sort of benefits to the way this is set up, but there are also some limitations. And I think my first impression of the bike when I saw it was, wow, it's like full suspension, it looks cool with this battery off the back, kind of looks like a rear fender on a motocross bike or something. But when I started to ride it and get to know the bike a little bit better, the first review I did was on like a 2012, 2013 version. This is the new 2014, and they've really overcome a lot of the little hang-ups that I had, and I've really started to recognize the bike as more of a value, something that could be used around town with a little bit of off-road, and you're going to benefit from some of the suspension and some of these other things. So let me just jump in and talk about the bicycle aspects of this to start with. We got basic cranks, these nice metal pedals with good grip and a good platform to stand on. These 26-inch wheels here, pretty standard, with sort of hybrid tires, a little bit flatter in the middle, got some good grip on the outside. So again, light trail. The RockShox is pretty awesome, good travel, and then there's also a lockout. You got the fender on the front, and sort of the battery pack and stuff acts as a fender on the rear. I complained before that the fender, it can kind of bounce like that, and that's going to send your light beam all over the place. And frankly, if you wanted to aim this down at the road, it's like it's going to hit the fender. It's not a perfect design, but once you get on the bike, the suspension sinks a little bit, unless you have it in lockout, and it provides some protection. Really, I think what it's going to do is alert cars that you're on your way. So there's that aspect of it. There is a rear light as well, and they're all wired in, so everything runs off the main battery, which is awesome. You don't have to worry about replacing other batteries separately. This does have some pretty good brakes, 160 millimeter mechanical disc brakes right here, Tektro Novella. The Tektro brake levers actually initiate the brake, and they also have a separate wire here that tells the motor to shut off. So that's good stuff. In terms of the pedaling and the mechanical drivetrain that you interact with as a rider, you have the option of getting cassettes, right, where you've got chain rings in the rear, or cogs, and the chain uses a derailleur. But I really love and prefer this new Vinci continuously variable transmission. So it's sort of like an internal gearing system, but instead of gears, it's just a fluid slope. So you can adjust the basically the pedal cadence by turning that, and you can do it at standstill. So here we are, we're just sitting here, and we're going from the little guy climbing a hill to flats. And basically what that does is, these are like a lower, easier gears, and the flats like faster gears. It's going to make you go travel faster, but of course be harder to push. So those are higher gears. It's a neat system, but my favorite part about it isn't just that pedaling with it feels good. It's that the motor system right here, the mid-drive, is pulling this chain, which is directly connected to your rear system, right? And with the chain rings, this system isn't smart enough to know, oh, you're changing gears, cut the motor. It just keeps pulling. And you can imagine that mashes the gears, and you kind of get kunk, kunk, kunk feeling. So the new Vinci hub is a welcome feature. It does add to the price, and it adds a couple pounds to the bike. The bike is already, 65 to 66 pounds, depending on the motor, depending on the new Vinci, all this stuff. And it does add to the price, but starting out, this bike's around $2,000. I mean, you get the mid-drive, that's going to take you further. It's going to help you climbing some hills. And frankly, although I wouldn't classify this as like a true mountain bike off-road, that rear suspension does give you some support, like going off curbs or minor bumps and stuff like that. It does change the frame stiffness a little bit. Like, it's hard to illustrate, but if you get on the bike and you pedal, the whole frame kind of, you could just feel it more, because there's weight hanging off the back, there's weight up front, and in the middle, this is just, it's just, I don't know, it's just not as stiff. 65 pounds is pushing back and forth. I've ridden stealth electric bikes. I've ridden, the high bikes and all these other things out there that are either heavy or also have full suspension. This one still just feels squishier, like the whole frame. And again, it's sort of a value product in that sense. But I do like that they're paying so much attention to, feedback and really listening to their customers. They offer a really great, it's like 16-month, maybe to 18-month warranty default, and then you can upgrade that to 24 months for like $90, which is neat. And then they work with your local bike shop. If you have any issues, they have like a representative who sort of reps your bike. The cool thing about it is this is all the drive system, and the rest of the bike is just sort of a normal bike. That's the benefit of any mid-drive. And that means it's easier to take the wheel off, change the tires, and get service. And if you got the new Vinci, you don't need to get the derailleur tuned. And this isn't a derailleur, this is like a chain tensioner, and it's just gonna make it so that your chain doesn't fall off, and it's gonna help keep it on track for all the forces that are being applied through the center drive. So let me get into the actual drive system here. This is a 500 watt center drive in this little can right here. It looks very similar to the 350 watt version. It just offers you a little bit more power for climbing. On this side, you can see a cadence sensor. It's got these 12 little magnets that pass by this sensor right here. And what this is essentially communicates back up to the controller that, oh, the person's pedaling, or oh, they're not pedaling. That's it. It's kind of an on-off. To control how much energy you're getting, you actually have to change the level of assist. So this bike has 5 levels of assist. To turn it on, you press the mode button, and it lights up. It actually is backlit if you hold mode and arrow up. The screen brightens up, and then the lights turn on. So anyway, right now we're in pedal assist level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So the higher you go, the more power you get, the faster you go, but you're also using more energy, right? So it's a trade-off that any bike has, but if you're using this in pedal assist mode and you're helping along, and you're taking advantage of the gearing with your, ideally the new Vinci, you're going to be putting less work on the motor. And this motor does have sort of a range that it works best in, and it's not the fastest range. Some of the Bosch systems, they're very fast. They're like, and you can hear it. It's more of a whining. This one's a little, it's strong, but it's slower. And it can kind of change the way that you ride if you don't interact with it properly. The best way to save your battery on these is to sort of power up slowly or softly, or use that climbing gear, and that's going to put less strain on the motor. It's going to extend your battery. So speaking of batteries, that's what's inside this plastic case back here. And on the previous version, I was kind of frustrated. It was like, you could hear it kind of shaking around. They've improved the design so it sort of connects in the back as well as the front, and it locks to the frame right here, so it doesn't rattle anymore. But you can still take this thing off. You can charge it on the bike right there, or completely off, which just means you're going to be able to lighten this thing if you're transporting it. And that's very nice. And I do like that they've got a rack that's sort of built onto the top. It doesn't look quite as burly as some, but it's standard, sort of little narrow tubing. It's got the spring lock thing on the top, and you could put the basic saddlebag or some panniers, as long as they didn't hang too far, because then they could start to get into the spokes in the wheel. So Evelo has some recommended panniers to get, and frankly, it's better than nothing. If you think about some of the Prodeco Tech bikes that also have the battery up high and in the rear, it's not the best place to put weight, but that keeps the system cheap and it makes it modular for them. So it is what it is, and the fact that this puts some of the weight down and in the center with this mid-drive, that's great. So at least it's not all in the rear. Some of it's distributed forward. But in the case of the battery pack up here, at least you can take advantage of the rack and haul something. I don't think you can really do that with some of the Prodeco Tech bikes. So this is where it plugs into your system. The battery uses these Samsung lithium-ion cells. They're going to go for a long time. They're relatively lightweight for the energy that you're getting. You should get, again, 1,000 plus charge cycles. And it comes in 4 configurations. There's a 36 volt 10 amp hour and a 36 volt 17 amp hour. And those 36 volt, they work with a 350 watt motor. If you want the more powerful 500 watt motor that I'm testing here, then you have to upgrade to 48 volt. And it offers it in 4810, or 48 14.5 amp hours. Okay, so again, more amp hours is going to take you further, but be more expensive. Kind of a trade-off, and weigh a little bit more as well. So that's essentially what we're working with here. Yeah, it's an interesting bike, and I like that they've made a lot of little improvements, and you've got the, you know, ergo grips and some of those attentions to detail. There's also an adjustable stem, so you can kind of bring this back up and essentially have like an upright riding position with this. They've upgraded the seats as well, and they have a saddle replacement program where if you've got a seat that you really like, they'll send it to you without a saddle, and they'll help reimburse whichever one you get. So it's that kind of attention to customer service that I really appreciate about the company. Again, this is more of an entry-level bike in a lot of respects, but the price point is great. So that's, you know, that's just what you're getting. As far as the electronics being wired in, I mentioned, you know, you can kind of reach this while you're riding. There's the new display that's big and easy to use while you're on the go. All the wires from the display, from the buttons, from these brake cutoffs, those are the black ones, and they go right through the frame, so they're really well protected and kind of out of the way. Right down here to the motor. These other silver ones, these are your basically the rider's inputs. They got brake cables and then your shifter cables, and they run. They're a little bit in the way here, but nice little cable tie downs, and I think it just keeps it all from getting too bunched up right there. So that's a good call that they've made, and the design is kind of cool. So let me just hop on this thing. I'm in pedal assist level 5. There is no zero mode, so there's no throttle only, but at any time you can override pedal assist by twisting that throttle. So I'm going to do that just to start. I'm in hill climbing mode, which means, you know, that's the easiest. It's going to give it more power than speed. Top speed on this thing is 20 miles per hour. I'm gonna head over to a parking garage and do a climbing test. It's nice to have that suspension when you go over some of those little bumps in the road. Okay, so it's not the biggest hill in the world, it's just a parking garage, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn this to a hill climbing gear right here. And then I'm gonna use the throttle from standstill. Yeah, no problem, not a problem there. It's definitely got enough torque to climb this. And keep in mind, this is the 500 watt version, so it's the more powerful one. We've got it in the perfect gear for climbing, but mid-drive does benefit you. That's the benefit. You can use those gears or the continuously variable transmission to position you the best for climbing or for reaching top speeds. You really have to be in like the highest gear to hit that 20 mile per hour, and you kind of only just get there. So this is really, it's more of a, I don't know, it's focused on those middle level speeds, right? But it does a good job at those things. And again, for the price and a little bit of comfort with that rear suspension, it's good. I wouldn't take this thing on too hard of trails, because you do have that weight high up, and the frame being a little bit more flexible. It's just really not meant to be a mountain bike. So that's the Evelo Aries. For the full specs and pictures and the written review on this, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.